1. Shake it off and step up. There's a fable about an old farmer who owned an aging donkey. One day, the donkey fell into a dry well and cried out in pain. After assessing the situation calmly and feeling sympathy for the donkey, the farmer decided to quickly end its suffering. He called over some neighbors to help bury the poor donkey by shoveling dirt into the well. At first, the donkey was terrified by what was happening to it, but as each shovel of dirt fell on its back, it shook it off and stepped up. And so, the donkey continued to do just that, bit by bit, encouraging itself. Shake it off and step up, shake it off and step up. Despite the pain after each shovel of dirt and the extreme despair of the situation, the donkey kept fighting the confusion and fear, sticking to the motto, shake it off and step up. Before long, though bruised and exhausted, the old donkey joyfully stepped out of the well. What seemed like it would crush and bury him actually saved his life, all thanks to the donkey's bravery in facing its adversity. 2. Cultivating the scholarly aura, the timeless value of reading and learning. When you have free time, reading books gives you the aura of a scholar. The so-called scholarly aura is a refined demeanor and quality, an outward expression of inner virtue. This aura is like the fresh air emanating from the scent of books, which can refine our thoughts and even our actions. A person with a scholarly aura who fills their heart with books naturally appears enlightened. The study room, filled with books, is crucial for cultivating this scholarly demeanor. In the study room, books are companions and friends. Immersing yourself in a sea of books and discussing ideas with knowledgeable people enriches your understanding. Thus, to nurture a scholarly demeanor, one should spend time in the study room. Ancient wisdom suggests that true effort comes from stepping outside. To cultivate a scholarly demeanor, one should not just stay in the study room, but also engage with wise people and nature. The rich experiences of social life are like a great book that nurtures a scholarly demeanor when one steps out of the study room and embraces the essence of the land, enriching the scholar's aura with the pure spirit of the universe. Tang Guoqian once said, "A person's character is innate and hard to change, but reading can transform it." For someone to maintain their virtues throughout life, they must continually cultivate a scholarly demeanor, allowing it to fill their heart and permeate their surroundings, endlessly resonating. A scholarly demeanor also accumulates depth over time and is only expressed gradually through sustained cultivation, a lifelong endeavor. 3. Relying on yourself is more reliable than relying on others. For a king, the most important thing is to fulfill the duties of a king and to love and educate his people. Forming alliances with stronger nations is a temporary measure, but building one's own strength is a fundamental strategy based on sound reasoning. Van Kong of the state of Dong asked his advisor, Mencius, "Our state of Dong is small, situated between the two great states of Qi and Chu. Ideally, we should please both, but realistically, we can't manage that. Should we align with Qi or Chu? I truly don't know which to rely on to ensure our peace. Please advise." Mencius replied, "Depending on others for your security is never certain. If you please Qi, Chu will be upset, and if you please Chu, Qi will be angry. We cannot predict their reactions quickly enough. I suggest the only way is to fortify our own state, dig deep moats, build high walls, govern firmly, and unite the people. If the king is willing to die defending the nation, the people will also risk their lives and not abandon their ruler. This way, we use the people's loyalty to protect our land, strengthening ourselves and managing our own affairs without depending solely on Qi or Chu." Commentary. For a king, the utmost duty is to fulfill his royal obligations and to nurture his people. Engaging in alliances with the powerful is a necessity, but focusing on internal strength is the real solution based on sound principles. Over-relying on others leads to disrespect and intimidation. A small state must respect a larger state as part of diplomacy, which is inevitable. However, Mencius advised focusing on self-reliance because Van Kong was overly concerned with appeasing the powerful. True leadership involves sharing the fate of the people, which unifies the nation and creates an invisible strength that deters invaders. With such unity, there is nothing to fear. However, modern times are different from the past. Effective domestic governance and wise diplomacy are essential for a nation to remain stable in today's world. 4. Don't lose your integrity for small gains. In life, even if you lose everything, never lose your integrity. The story below is a deep lesson for those willing to compromise their values. In a small town in the South, there was a fish stall at the local market that often had long lines of customers due to its famously fresh fish. The owner, a man over 50, casually shared a story during a conversation that explained the change in his business fortunes. About 5 years ago, a young boy around 7 or 8 years old came to the market to buy vegetables and stopped at the fish stall. "Sir, can I buy 2 butterfly fish?" The stall owner looked at the boy, scooped 2 fish, and weighed them. The boy fumbled in his pocket for a while before pulling out a $100 bill. "Is this a New Year's gift you didn't want to spend?" the owner joked, as the boy's cheeks turned red. "$36, said the owner as he took the money and returned $64 in change. After receiving the change, the boy quickly took the fish and left. The next day, the boy returned. "My mom went to the hospital today." The owner was startled. "My mom is sick. She had surgery today. Yesterday, I bought her favorite butterfly fish because I was afraid she might never get to eat it again. But after eating, she said to me, 'It's really not worth losing your character over a little greed.'" The boy shamefully pulled out a brand new $100 bill from his pocket and politely handed it to the owner. "Sir, I'm sorry. The money I used yesterday was fake. This one is real." The owner was surprised by this revelation. He remembered the previous day, never suspecting that an apparently honest boy could use counterfeit money. The boy bowed his head in shame. "Thank you, sir. My mom received this fake bill a while ago, and she had kept it in a drawer. She's sick and had used up all her savings, so to save $100, I secretly took this fake bill to buy the fish. Thank you for not blaming me." The owner felt as if something inside him had broken, a feeling hard to describe. He took the fake bill from the drawer and returned it to the boy, who bowed and then walked away. Watching the boy disappear into the distance, the owner couldn't recover his spirits for a long time. At the end of the day, when no one was looking, he threw away over a dozen fish treated with formalin, a chemical used to preserve and bleach, that had been under his stall for over a week. Later, the boy's mother, who was very sick, passed away, and the boy went back to his village to continue his studies. The fish stall owner never saw the boy again, but every time he thought of the boy and his mother, whom he had never met, it brought a flush to his cheeks. The mother's wisdom not only helped her son return to the right ethical path and raised him to be a good person, but also touched others deeply. She truly was a great mother.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
5. A clever intervention saves the stableman. King Khan Kong of the state of Tay had a prized horse, which he entrusted to a stableman. One day the horse suddenly died. Furious, the king believed the stableman had killed the horse and ordered soldiers to execute him immediately. Just then, Antu, who was in attendance, stopped the execution and asked the king, Where would kings Ngu and Thuan from ancient times start their executions? Kong Kong, puzzled, replied, "Let him go, but put him in prison to be punished later." And Tu then said, "This man has been condemned to die without a clear understanding of his crime, which would seem unjust. Allow me to explain his offenses before you imprison him." The king agreed. And Tu explained, "This man has committed 3 capital offenses. First, you charged him with the care of your horse, and he let it die. Second, he allowed the death of your very valuable horse. Third, his actions have tarnished your reputation, causing the public to resent you and other states to disrespect you. His negligence has led to public outrage and international scorn." Moved by An Tu's words, King Kong Kong relented, saying, "Forgive him, forgive him. I do not want to be known as cruel." Commentary. King Kong Kong's initial reaction to execute the stableman was out of anger and a loss of reason and justice. Yet, An Tu's intervention, which appeared to align with the king's desires by listing the stableman's faults, actually reminded the king of compassion, leading him to reconsider and show mercy. And Tu's gentle and persuasive words effectively transformed the king's heart. 6. What have we ultimately missed in our lives? Every opportunity in life is a gift from above, even if it's just hearing a beautiful note of music. More importantly, we need sharp eyes to recognize these treasures, so we don't miss out on them. One cold winter morning at a subway station in Washington, a man took out a violin and began to play. He performed 6 pieces by Bach, and in front of him lay a worn hat. To the hurried passers-by, he might have seemed just another street performer. After 3 minutes, a middle-aged man slowly approached, listened for a few seconds, and then hurried away. 4 minutes later, the musician received his first few coins when a woman tossed a few dollars into the hat and continued on her way. 6 minutes later, a young man leaned against the wall to enjoy the music, then checked his watch and moved on. 10 minutes after that, a 3-year-old boy stopped to watch, but his mother pulled him away. He hesitated, looking back at the violin, but his mother urged him on. Other children were also hurried along by their parents. After 45 minutes, the musician had played 6 songs, but out of 1,097 people who passed by, only 6 stopped to listen for a while, and about 20 gave money before continuing on their way. Unknown to the crowd, the subway violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the world's greatest musicians. He played some of the most famous music pieces on a violin worth $3.5 million. Just 2 days before, he had sold out a theater in Boston, where tickets averaged about $200 each. This subway performance was a social experiment by the Washington Post to explore people's tastes and preferences. It concluded that even with one of the best musicians in the world playing the finest instrument, we often don't stop even for a moment. So, in our fast-paced lives, how many other meaningful things are we missing? In common perception, a great musician like Joshua Bell should be on a grand stage, not in a subway station. It's like expecting spiritual seekers to find deep wisdom only in secluded, mystical places. But sometimes great wisdom is right in front of us, though few truly recognize it. Lao Tzu, a wise sage from ancient China, was once the keeper of the royal archives. Known for his deep understanding of tradition and morality, he was truly recognized only by Confucius. Confucius once visited Lao Tzu and was deeply impressed by his profound wisdom, likening him to a dragon that harnesses the wind to soar to the heavens. Confucius continued to seek Lao Tzu's teachings and eventually grasped the great wisdom, achieving peace of mind that if he were to die in the evening after hearing the truth in the morning, he would be content. If Lao Tzu were among us today, appearing quietly in a subway station like Joshua Bell, would we have the insight to recognize him? Or are we like the busy commuters at the subway, seeing yet not perceiving? What have we truly missed in our lives? 7. The empty fort strategy. In China, the name Zhuge Liang is known to everyone. Being compared to Zhuge Liang means being praised for having great strategic wisdom. Here's a story about him. Around the 2nd century BCE, China was divided into 3 main states, Wei, Shu, and Wu, during a period known as the Three Kingdoms. These states were often at war with each other, but none could completely conquer the others. Zhuge Liang was a famous military strategist for the state of Shu. Once, the state of Wei heard that Xicheng, a strategic fortress of Shu, was weakly defended with only about 10,000 troops. Wei's general Sima Yi led a force of several 100,000 soldiers to attack. When the news reached Shu, from the king down to the soldiers, everyone was extremely tense. With only 10,000 defending against hundreds of thousands, defeat seemed certain and there was no time to send reinforcements. With Xicheng facing imminent danger, everyone pinned their hopes on the clever Zhuge Liang. He felt the pressure but knew he had to devise a plan. After much thought, Zhuge Liang came up with a risky strategy. He ordered the civilians and soldiers to hide, temporarily moving to a safe location, and then he opened the city gates and waited. When General Sima Yi encircled Xicheng, he was shocked to find the city gates open and no soldiers on the walls, just an old man sweeping. As he puzzled over this, Zhuge Liang appeared on the city walls, calmly dusting off his clothes and sitting down to play a musical instrument. The Wei soldiers were amazed to hear beautiful music playing while they surrounded the city in a tense moment. General Sima Yi, long aware of Zhuge Liang's cunning, suspected an ambush and felt increasingly uneasy as the music grew more intense, like a storm was brewing. Fearing a trap, he quickly ordered his troops to retreat. Thus, without a single soldier fighting, Xicheng was saved by Zhuge Liang's empty fort strategy. There are many more stories of Zhuge Liang's cunning, all originating from the classic Chinese text Romance of the Three Kingdoms. If you're interested, I recommend reading this book. 8. Are you okay? In interactions, just one sentence can make someone feel warm and comfortable, or it can hurt them for a lifetime. As a teacher, my duty is to educate, so I often advise the parents of my students that if their child accidentally breaks dishes or damages something, the first thing they should say is, "Are you okay?" Caring for the child should always come before worrying about the objects. After all, broken dishes can be replaced, but scolding or physically punishing a child can permanently damage your relationship, much like shattered glass can never be completely repaired. Before 1990, Taiwan's education curriculum included lessons on personal development, character building, and moral cultivation. These lessons often featured stories about Liu Quan, a government official during the Eastern Han Dynasty. One story tells of a time Liu Quan was dressed neatly, ready to attend court, when a servant accidentally spilled soup on his court attire. Contrary to the servant's fear of being punished, Liu Quan calmly asked, "Did the hot soup burn you?" This reflects his compassionate and forgiving nature. Another time, when Liu Quan was out with his ox cart, a man who had lost his ox insisted that Liu's ox was his. Without a word, Liu stepped down from his cart, handed over the ox to the man, and walked home. Later, the man found his own ox, rushed to return Liu's ox, and apologized profusely. Liu helped the man up and said, "Oxen generally look alike. It's easy to mistake one for another. You returned the ox without fuss, which is commendable. Why should you apologize?" Liu Quan truly epitomized virtue, earning deep respect from others. I vividly remember back in 1980 during my first teaching job, I was overseeing a table tennis session. It was Kai's turn, and as he swung his racket, it slipped from his hand and hit me right in the forehead, knocking my glasses off and shattering them. Seeing him pale and frozen in place, I immediately went over, patted his shoulder, and said, "It's okay. Nothing to be afraid of." I bent down to pick up my broken glasses and then told the students, "Let's continue practicing." Honestly, I still don't understand how I remained so calm and forgiving in that moment. I thought to myself, I'm not usually like this. It's undeniable that the historical stories of Liu Kuan had truly transformed me. Being a teacher, when you impart morals to students, those same morals deeply imprint themselves in you, helping to restrain your own impulses, which is genuinely beneficial. In friendships, caring for each other should come before money. As parents, loving your children should always surpass any concern for material things that are damaged. This is the essence of humanism, guiding how we should live. 9. The Fisherman's Wisdom. King Van Kong of the Tan Kingdom went hunting and, caught up in the chase, accidentally wandered into a large marsh and couldn't find his way out. He encountered a fisherman and said, "I am the king. I'm lost. Show me the way out and I will reward you." The fisherman responded, "Your Majesty, I would like to offer you a piece of advice." The king replied, "Lead me out of the marsh first, then you can speak your mind." Once they were out, the king asked, "Now, what did you want to tell me?" The fisherman said, "The flamingo and the heron by the river banks, if they tire of the waters and venture into the marsh, surely get caught in traps. The salamander and the turtle from the deep abyss, if they leave for the warm shallows, inevitably get caught in nets. Your Majesty went hunting too deep into unknown lands. Why wander so far?" King Van Kong agreed, "You speak wisely." Turning back, he ordered his attendant to record the fisherman's name for a future reward. The fisherman replied, "There's no need to record my name. If you respect the heavens and the community, protect our borders, love your people, and lighten their taxes, then I will naturally benefit from your good governance. If you fail in these duties, lose the people's trust, and mismanage the state, no amount of personal reward can compensate for the hardship that will follow." The fisherman politely excused himself and added, "Please return to your kingdom quickly, and I will return to my fishing." Reflection. The fisherman's advice to King Van Kong was twofold: not to indulge excessively in leisure activities that could be harmful, and to rule justly for the benefit of the people and the stability of the state. His refusal to accept a reward reflects his foresight and wisdom, recognizing that when the nest is destroyed, no egg remains intact. When a kingdom is ruined, no individual can expect to enjoy peace. In times of peace, the value of rewards and a clear conscience is incomparable. 10. The simple joy of a good deed, a child's lesson in inner happiness. After the rain, a little boy found a small snail on the side of the road. He knelt down, gently picked it up, and placed it in the bushes. "Don't wander off," his grandma called out to him. The boy looked up excitedly and said, "I'm rescuing the snail. It was in the middle of the road, which is very dangerous. I'm taking it home." His grandma was puzzled. "Does the snail know you saved it?" The boy replied, "It probably doesn't." "Then, doing this good deed goes unnoticed. Who knows you saved the snail?" the grandma asked. The boy quickly responded, "I know I did, and that's enough for me. I saved a snail and it makes me happy." This simple statement from the child carries a deep philosophical meaning about life. We do good deeds not for recognition from others, nor even for the beneficiary to be aware. Knowing for ourselves is enough. Doing good helps us feel our existence and reaffirms to ourselves that we are good people. This aligns with our expectations, allowing us to continue doing good. That alone makes us feel happy. This is the true essence of doing good deeds and the original wish of each of us. Unfortunately, today many people are too pragmatic and self-serving, distorting their actions. We often help others with the expectation of being thanked, or we hope others will recognize and praise us. If these expectations are not met, many of us are unwilling to act kindly. In reality, letting others know about our good deeds is understandable, but knowing for ourselves that we have done well is what truly matters. After all, we live for ourselves, not for others. No matter how much others praise and repay us, ultimately, we must affirm ourselves internally. The happiest person is truly the one who is content with themselves. Otherwise, even if the whole world praises you, if you feel inside that you have done wrong and don't deserve the praise, you won't find true happiness. Many philosophers believe that the world is full of illusions, and what is truest lies within our own hearts. This deep-seated principle holds profound meaning.
If you like this video, please comment 1, and if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
11. Farewell to a new official. Tieton from Hadong is about to take up a government position. Liu Nguyen hosted a farewell banquet by the riverbank, and while pouring a glass of wine for Tangia said, "As an official in any district, you must remember that your role is to serve the people, not to have them serve you. The locals have already paid their taxes to fund officials who should maintain justice for them. Unfortunately, many officials, once in power, not only take the taxes but neglect their duties and sometimes even steal from the people. Imagine hiring someone to work in your house. If they take the salary but are lazy and steal from you, you would surely be angry and punish, perhaps even dismiss them. Why then, when many officials act this way, do the people not rise up to punish and dismiss them? It's because other powers prevent this, but the principle remains the same. So, how should an official act to truly earn their keep? Tun Anya, you have previously served as an official in Lin Long for 2 years. You woke up early and stayed up late, diligently handling affairs, judging fairly, collecting reasonable taxes, and were liked by all, young and old. You truly know how to care and maintain order, making your salary well-deserved. Though my position is modest and I'm not involved in decision-making regarding the promotion or demotion of officials, I know you are going to be an official, so I hold this wine banquet in high regard to mark your commencement. Commentary. Liu Nguyen's words are indeed modern and relevant. Today, an official is not a parent to the people but a hired worker paid by them. Oh, how distant is the role of a parent from that of a hired hand? However, calmly speaking and without exaggeration, if those in charge of a community's fate lack integrity, seeing their role as merely a job and not as managing state affairs like household matters and treating the people as if they were their children, can their actions be thorough and beneficial to the people? Certainly not. An official must act as a parent to the people to be deemed worthy of their position. It is for this reason that the term public servant is used, to remind them of their duty and to lead them to a place of understanding and responsibility. 12. Stealing a penny. There's a story about a woman named Thi who 40 years ago, when she was in elementary school, was so hungry that she stole a penny from a classmate to buy a snack. Her classmate realized the money was missing and was both crying and searching for it. This incident deeply affected Mrs. T, and she could never forget it. After 40 years of searching, she finally found her old classmate. Mrs. T approached her, offering 10,000 dong, and said, "You must take this. I've always been tortured by my mistake from that year." Interestingly, her friend had long forgotten about the lost penny and wouldn't have remembered it if Mrs. Tai hadn't brought it up. Moreover, no one else knew who had taken the penny. However, Mrs. Tai couldn't forget and always felt uneasy and guilty, as if being tortured. So, she was determined to find her friend, repay her with 10,000 dong, and ask for forgiveness. This way, she could finally feel relieved and at peace. Many people might have similar experiences, owing something to someone for various reasons. Perhaps the other party doesn't know, and no one else can either, and no one blames you, but you can't forget and can't forgive yourself. People often say, "You can't go against your conscience," and this is why. The guilt can be exhausting, and you might punish yourself for feeling guilty. This feeling can be as bad as being openly criticized by others. Therefore, Mrs. T was willing to pay 10,000 dong to compensate for the penny she owed. 13. The value of life. Life always speaks to us through the simplest and most unexpected things. There was a rather clever novice monk who always asked questions about life. One day, he asked his mentor, "Master, what is the value of a person's life?" "I ask because I often see people come to the temple hoping their lives have value." The master went into his room and brought out an ugly stone, telling the novice, "Take this stone to the market to sell. But remember, no matter who wants to buy it, do not sell it and bring it back to me." "Why is that, master?" "If you want to know the value of life, do as I say." Driven by curiosity, the novice did as instructed. He sat in the market all day trying to sell the stone, wondering why it was related to the value of life. He sat there all day without anyone asking about it, and people found it odd why he was trying to sell such a worthless, ugly stone. At the end of the day, a sympathetic street vendor offered $1 for the stone. The novice remembered his master's instruction not to sell it regardless of any interest shown. He took the stone back and asked his master, "What's special about this stone that you had me try to sell it? Fortunately, someone was willing to pay $1 for it. So, what is the value of life, master?" The master smiled and said, "Well done. Tomorrow, take the stone to a jewelry shop and try to sell it to the shop owner. But remember, even if the shop owner wants to buy it, do not sell it. You will then understand what the value of life is." Curious, the novice did as told. The next day, he took the stone to a jewelry shop, wondering why the master told him to sell the stone there when no one in the market wanted it, even for a small amount. Reluctantly but curiously, he followed his master's words. To his surprise, when he offered the stone in the jewelry shop, the shop owner offered $500 for it. It was surprising that the stone which no one wanted a day before was now valued so highly. Remembering his master's instructions, the novice did not sell the stone and brought it back. He hurriedly asked why it was so and what the value of life was that a stone without value one day could be so valuable the next. The master laughed and said, "If you want to understand what the value of life is, take this stone to an antique shop tomorrow and try to sell it, but remember, no matter the price, do not sell it and bring it back to me. You will understand the value of life." Even more curious, the next day the novice took the stone to an antique shop. After a while, the shop owner offered his entire fortune for the stone. The novice decisively refused to sell and hurried back to tell his master, "What is this stone that from something no one wanted now holds the value of a whole fortune?" "That is the value of life," the master said. "The value of each person's life is determined by ourselves, just as the novice hesitated when he tried to sell a stone of no apparent value. The value of life is built and defined by us. So, Place yourself where people understand you and where your value is respected. Life is in everything, from the grand to the simple, even in things we might not care about. Life always talks to us through the simplest and most unexpected things. Don't miss any moment in your life. 14. The obsession. There are mistakes people make without feeling remorse, but these still indirectly affect their world. Once, I was dining with a friend who is a chef. He noticed something black in his food and cautiously tried to remove it. Although it turned out to be just a burnt onion, he couldn't bring himself to eat the dish anymore. He openly said, "I believe that many restaurants nowadays are dishonest. A lot of the food is dirty, so I generally don't eat out because I'm haunted by this thought." Since he is so meticulous about cleanliness in his own cooking, he assumes others are not, which made a burnt onion ruin his entire appetite. Indeed, if it weren't for that piece of onion, he wouldn't have been able to enjoy the meal like we did. There are many similar instances. Your actions will influence your worldview. If you engage in shady activities, even if no one finds out and your conscience doesn't trouble you, you'll still harbor doubts about the world, indirectly shattering your inner peace. We choose to do good and avoid bad deeds not just for praise or fear of social punishment, but more importantly, because our actions have a direct impact on ourselves. The greatest reward for doing good is a joyful and happy soul, whereas the heaviest penalty for doing bad is the torment of a guilty conscience and a restless, fearful mind. 15. The clever beggar and the lady. A lady was walking her dog when she encountered a beggar. She said, "If you call my dog Dad, I'll give you $100." The beggar asked, "What if I call him that 10 times?" She replied, "Then I'll give you $1,000. The beggar immediately started calling the dog Dad loudly 10 times. As bystanders gathered around curiously, the lady, watched by the crowd, reluctantly handed over the money to him. The beggar then joyfully said, "Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much." Lesson learned. Life is like that. The kinder and more honest you are, the more others might try to take advantage of you. When dealing with such people, stay calm and respond gently. 16. Gain and loss are part of fate. In life, gains always come with losses. The more you gain, the more you might lose, and vice versa. It's all a fair exchange. Many people dream of winning the lottery, but the reality of life after winning often doesn't live up to their expectations. There was a social study where researchers tracked lottery winners for 10 years. Most winners were from working-class backgrounds who thought that money would improve their lives. However, after receiving large sums, their lives often took a turn for the worse. Reckless spending, borrowing by relatives, divorces, moving houses. Many saw a decline because they couldn't manage their finances well. Everything in the world has both good and bad sides. Therefore, a truly wise person understands that gaining is not always joyful and losing is not always sorrowful. Facing any situation in life, one can adopt the mindset of gain and loss are part of fate, remaining unshaken by circumstances. 17. The district chairman. A district chairman was removed from his position and fell so ill from the distress that he could only lie flat in bed. The doctor suggested, try reading him a notice reinstating his position to see if it helps his recovery. His wife thought to herself, if I'm going to read him something, I might as well read him a promotion to provincial chairman to make him really happy. Surprisingly, her husband burst into laughter upon hearing this and jumped up, healthy as ever. The doctor sighed. Why didn't you follow my advice? Increasing the dose on your own might not be a good idea. Indeed, once the husband learned the truth, he went mad. The lesson here, don't fear failure, bravely face it instead. Don't let it stop your progress. Life is a journey filled with varied experiences, including failures.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
18. Knowing when enough is enough. In the Thai Can Dam, it is said, "Those who are greedy, although they have gold, still long for jewels, and though they hold a title, still aspire for a higher one." This means that while human capacity is limited, desires are limitless. People who have gold still want jewels, and those with a dukedom still dream of becoming an earl. Sooner or later, those who pursue more than they can handle or deserve inevitably bring disaster upon themselves. During the Ming Dynasty, Prince Zhou of Jiangsu Chu Thanhao came from the royal family and led a life of wealth. However, he was not satisfied with being a prince and aspired to become the emperor. Unfortunately, his rebellion lasted only 43 days before it was quelled by the local governor and his allies. Eventually, the prince was captured and executed. Nangiem Tung, 1480 to 1567, was listed in the Ming Dynasty records as one of the 6 notorious traitors. He and his son wielded power that turned people against them for 20 years. His son, Nghiem the Fiane, was extremely arrogant. He once bragged loudly, "No one in the court is as wealthy as I am." Emperor the Tong had long disapproved of Nangiem Tung and his son, and eventually found a reason to dismiss them. Their family and followers were all exiled. On his way to exile, Nghiem the Fiane tried to escape, but was caught and beheaded. Since their property was confiscated, Nangiem Tung had no home to return to and lived despised by all. 2 years later, he fell seriously ill and died. When Nghiem Tung died, he was buried without a coffin, and no one was there to mourn him. It is said, even if you have a mansion with 1,000 rooms, you only sleep in 2 meters of it, and even if you own 10,000 plots of good land, you eat no more than 3 meals a day. So why can't people recognize when enough is enough, and not relentlessly chase after so many things? After all, no matter how much wealth or how high a position one holds at the end of life, none of it matters anymore. 19. 3 wishes. A black man got lost in the desert and hadn't had water for 3 days. Just when he thought he might collapse, God appeared and granted him 3 wishes. His first wish was to have water every day. His second wish was to change his skin color to white. His third wish was to see a woman's behind every day. God agreed, and he instantly turned into a sparkling white toilet. The moral of the story: being overly greedy can only bring trouble to oneself. On the other hand, if you consider others and go with the flow, good things will come your way. 20. The wisdom of embracing foolishness. The quote, "It's hard to be foolish," is a famous saying by Trinh Bon Q, a painter and calligrapher from the Qing dynasty. He once commented on this saying, "It's hard to be intelligent, hard to be foolish, and even harder to transform from intelligent to foolish. Letting go and taking a step back will bring peace of mind without expecting any reward in the future." Some say, in life, there are 2 things: being vigilant in what you do and being foolish in how you are. Being foolish is a state of mind and a way of cultivation. To Confucius, foolishness is moderation. To the elderly, it is effortlessness. And to Zhuangzi, it is carefree. Often, it's better not to know too much, not to be too clever, nor too understanding. Life itself is essentially foolish, with joy and happiness hidden within this foolishness. Once we awaken, all that happiness and joy will dissipate like smoke. Sometimes, living foolishly can be beneficial, just going through life with a relaxed gaze, which also means forgiving ourselves and others. Those who are always calculating often don't live happily. With friends, being foolish without scheming lasts longer. With loved ones, it allows for freedom. With wealth, it brings no pain or anger. With human feelings, it leaves no guilt. With baseless rumors, it saves you from exhaustion. In life's journey, it's good to be foolish, to live happily, and to know contentment often brings joy. 21. Choosing chores. One day, I playfully asked my 4-year-old daughter, "We're going to have a pig at our house soon, and we need to divide the tasks. One person will feed it every day, another will clean its room, and another will bathe it. What job would you like?" She immediately replied, "I'll be the pig." Lesson learned. The choices you offer others are what you want them to do, but it might not be what they want. So sometimes, even though you try your best thinking it's for their good, they might reject your kindness. 22. Don't forget gratitude. Min was invited for a job interview at a big company. He performed exceptionally well during the interview and was invited by the CEO to a party. At the party, he behaved appropriately in every way. However, he was not the one who got the job. Min felt very angry, believing there was some unfair underlying reason. In the end, the hiring department told Min that although he was very skilled, the reason the manager did not hire him was because during the party, which was also a part of the interview process, he did not show any gratitude towards the servers. 23. A misunderstanding at the bar. A lesson in reactions and retorts. At a bar, a man walked in and struck up a conversation with a woman. He asked, "Can I buy you a beer?" The woman suddenly shouted, "No, I'm not a prostitute. I don't want to sleep with you." Everyone around them started giving the man disapproving looks. Embarrassed, the man paused for a moment before the woman calmly said, "I'm sorry. I'm a psychology student and I was just testing your reaction to public embarrassment." The man then yelled back, "500,000 for an hour? With that face, you dare ask for such a high price? Are you kidding me?" The moral of the story. When a loved one is harsh with us, it hurts, and often we pretend nothing happened. But if a stranger insults you, don't hesitate to stand up for yourself. Just make sure to seize the right moment and choose the appropriate response without losing your temper. 24. The end-of-year party. On the eve of the Lunar New Year, Mai's parents came to Beijing to celebrate the new year with their daughter. Mai's boyfriend quickly arranged a party at a familiar restaurant. During the dinner, he tried very hard to impress everyone. However, when they got home, Mai's parents felt he did not meet their standards for 3 reasons. First, he booked the restaurant without asking Mai's opinion or considering her elderly parents' preferences. Second, he kept urging the waitstaff to hurry during the busy dinner rush. His attitude was poor and he frequently complained and called for the manager. Third, during the dinner when his phone rang, he could have excused himself to call back later or stepped away from the table if it was urgent. Instead, he talked on the phone for over 10 minutes while eating, making Mai's parents feel uncomfortable and embarrassed across the table. After hearing her parents' comments, Mai began to reconsider things herself. 25. Confessing love. He had secretly loved her for a long time. Encouraged by his friends, he decided to buy roses and arrange them into a heart shape in front of her dormitory. However, due to his shyness, he stood in the courtyard for a long time without daring to call out her name to confess his feelings. The crowd around him grew larger, with people filling up the corridors on each floor. Eventually, he timidly asked, "Does anyone want to buy some flowers?" Lesson learned. If you're not brave enough to pursue what you desire and seize the opportunity, then you don't deserve the happiness that could have been yours. Missing out on confessing your feelings might mean that the girl who could have been your wife will end up raising children with someone else. 26. Attitude towards service staff. The way a man treats service staff before marriage is likely how he will treat his wife after marriage. This statement might sound extreme, but it holds true whether it's a business lunch or a family dinner. How you interact with service staff reflects not only your manners and upbringing, but also your emotional life. A psychologist once wrote, "If you constantly criticize and are demanding towards service staff, it can slow down the service." In such situations, a person with a generous spirit might say, "Miss, you look lovely and are very efficient. Could you please bring our dishes a bit quicker? Thank you so much." 27. Choosing wisely. A lesson from a BMW. When a guy saw his best friend pull up in a BMW, he was surprised and asked, "Where did you get that?" His friend replied, "Last night I met someone at a bar. They drove me up the mountain to enjoy the view, then took off their clothes and told me I could have anything I wanted, so I took their car." The guy nodded and responded, "Makes sense. You couldn't have worn their clothes anyway." Moral of the story. We are often tempted by superficial things. It's only when we close our eyes and grasp what our heart truly desires that we can achieve success. As for the opinions of friends, you can take them or leave them, but they help you see who truly shares your aspirations. 28. The art of gracious hosting. What you bring to others at this moment is the ability to smoothly and comfortably resolve situations. Consider the feelings of others to ensure everyone can enjoy their meal comfortably. Think about whether the chosen dishes suit everyone's taste preferences, and if the seating arrangement is comfortable. A manners teacher once shared that her mother taught her that when hosting a meal, it's important to be subtle and clever in matching the eating pace of the guests. If the guest is enjoying their meal, the host should not put down their chopsticks, as doing so might make the guest feel awkward about continuing to eat. Attention to detail and thoughtfulness are hidden in every small aspect. The etiquette and demeanor at a meal, if managed well even in these minor aspects, can also bring good fortune. 29. Someone else's wife. A young man was about to jump off a building because his girlfriend of 8 years was about to marry someone else. The police arrived and calmly said, "You've been with another man's wife for 8 years. What have you lost that makes you want to jump?" After hearing this, the young man thought for a moment, then carefully stepped back from the balcony, went into the room, and closed the door. Lesson learned. Whether happy or sad, time silently passes by. Regretting what has already happened is useless. Look at things from a different perspective, and you'll see that it's not all that bad. 30. The Old Man and the Lost Horse. A tale of fortune and misfortune. Once, near the border, there was an old man who raised horses. One day his prized horse ran north and didn't return. His neighbors came to express their sympathy, thinking it was a great loss. However, the old man remained calm and said, "Losing a horse might actually be a stroke of good luck." A few days later, the horse returned, bringing several fine horses back with it. Everyone was amazed and came to congratulate the old man, saying he was fortunate not only to get his horse back, but also to gain more. People expected the old man to be thrilled, but he simply said, "Gaining more horses might bring trouble." His neighbors didn't understand his reaction and left without asking further. The old man's son, seeing the beautiful new horses, decided to ride one but fell and broke his leg. When the community heard, they quickly came to offer their support. Just like before, the old man wasn't too concerned and commented, "This might actually be a blessing." Later, when the government drafted young men to fight in a war, his son was exempt due to his injury. Those with sons at war then realized how fortunate the old man's family was. In the end, everything in this world can bring both fortune and misfortune. So live naturally without clinging to gains or losses. When making plans, go with the flow and give your best without fixating on the outcome. Success or failure is a matter of fate, and sometimes joy comes from the journey, not the result. Don't let success or failure bring you too much excitement or worry.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
31. Mom and child. A child says to their mom, "Mom, you look really pretty today." The mom asks, "Oh, why do you say that?" The child replies, "Because today you didn't get angry." Moral of the story: our outward beauty depends on our inner temperament. An angry or irritable disposition can make us appear less approachable. That's why it's said, "The heart shapes the face." So, if you want to become more beautiful, work on nurturing a pure and kind heart. 32. A strong start. When water reaches the end, it becomes a waterfall. When people reach their limit, they often revive. In moments of despair, don't give up too quickly. Just one more step can lead to a field of bright, blooming flowers, and enduring a little longer can bring joyous scenery. A friend of mine said he was preparing to write a novel about a bank robbery which would have a very absurd plot. I told him, "Why not write a love story? I want to read a love story written by you." He replied, "I don't believe in love anymore. How can I write a love novel when love only brings despair?" I said, "That's great. You're now perfectly suited to write a love novel." We all know that many top comedians are quite serious in person, even dull. They might not find life amusing, yet they can perform the funniest sketches. There's a famous female director who is terrified of blood and darkness, yet her films chill the audience to the bone with their gory, violent scenes. Perhaps she films them with her eyes shut. Despair isn't necessarily bad. Sometimes it's the turning point to a new life. A person who despairs in love surely has a tragic past. Great authors, when they write about love, don't just describe romance. They portray life and human existence. The longing for love is a motivation to move beyond our pasts and push us forward. Everyone will eventually die. If we were immortal, would our love remain as intense? Fate is not just about random luck. It involves accepting and affirming the limitations of our finite lives. Making choices within these limitations is freedom. We are free to love and free to despair. Love starts with joy and often ends in despair. Those who have experienced despair can perhaps see through it clearly. O. Henry, in his short story, The Last Leaf, tells a tale of a patient who, despondent and bedridden, watches a withered tree outside her window, battered by strong winds. She notices that one fresh green leaf still clings on. She thinks, once that leaf falls, she too will end her life. Day after day she watches the leaf, silently waiting for both it and her life to end. But the leaf does not fall, and the patient recovers her health, finding the leaf still vibrantly green. In reality, there were no more leaves on the tree. The leaf was painted by an old artist, not a real one, but it was painted so realistically that it gave the patient strong faith to continue living, believing that as long as the leaf hung on, so would her life. Truly, she recovered and went out to see what the leaf was really like. Standing under the tree, she was deeply moved by the silent compassion of the artist, the only person who understood her secret hope. Thus, the artist followed the patient's mindset and painted such a leaf, which gave her the courage to keep living. Saving a life was not really about the leaf, but about the firm belief of a person. 33. Tennis class. A tennis coach asked his students, "How do you find a ball that has fallen into the grass?" One person suggested, Start searching from the center of the grass. Another said, start at the lowest point. Yet another recommended, begin from the highest point. The coach's answer was, do it step by step, from one end of the grass to the other. The lesson learned. It turns out the method to achieve goals in life is really simple. Just proceed sequentially, step by step, without jumping from step 1 to step 10. 34. Seeking peace and serenity. There's an old saying, life and death are predestined, and wealth is in the hands of heaven. Everything in life is predetermined, and all things happen as they must. We can't change much, no matter how much we might want to. The more we resist, the less happy we become. Only by accepting our fate can we find peace of mind. Once a colleague asked me, "You don't make more money than me, but I see you and your friends are very peaceful. Everyone seems relaxed and stress-free. Do you have any secrets you could share?" His honesty touched me, and I smiled and replied, "I don't harbor any desires in my heart. Can you do that?" He immediately looked uncomfortable and said, "How is that possible? I've been so tired lately. My son failed his math test and I don't know what to do about it. I also have a lot of credit card debt and not enough money to pay it off. There's just too much to worry about and it seems like more troubles are on the way." I calmly told him, "Only when you stop desiring anything will you truly find serenity." I shared a story with him. A very wealthy merchant once encountered a beggar. The beggar said, "You and I are old friends. Could you spare some money?" 35. The frogs and the advice. A frog living by a field said to a frog by the roadside, "It's too dangerous here for you. Come live where I am." The roadside frog replied, "I'm used to it here. Moving would be too much trouble." A few days later, the field frog came to visit and found the roadside frog had been run over by a car, its body flattened. Lesson learned. Always consider sincere advice. Don't let laziness harm you. 36. Simple joys. Finding happiness in everyday life. Happiness, the most valuable yet often overlooked aspect of our lives, can be as simple as having a home to return to, loved ones waiting for us, and 3 meals a day. A writer once said, "What is happiness? It's everything continuing just as normal." The simplest joys might be someone waving goodbye in the morning and welcoming us back in the evening. These common moments, like tucking a backpack in a corner or stuffing smelly soccer shoes under the table, often go unnoticed. Yet, reflecting on such peaceful, ordinary life, one might regret not cherishing these moments if taken for granted. There's a simple story about a puppy asking its mother, "Mom, where can I find happiness?" The mother replies, "Happiness is right on your tail." The puppy spends the day chasing its tail without success, growing dizzy and worried. The mother explains with a smile, "Don't chase after your tail. Just keep moving forward and happiness will follow you." This story teaches us that happiness is often right within us, unnoticed. True happiness might be as straightforward as leaving work, knowing where to go, a light waiting to be turned on at dusk, or a hearty meal when we're hungry. Often, we overlook that the greatest happiness lies in having a home, someone waiting for us, and food to eat. As someone once said, "You might miss a bus but catch another, spend all your money but earn more, or lose a job but find another." However, family and home are irreplaceable. Happiness is something we seek all our lives, but in reality is profoundly simple. It lies in the everyday, ordinary moments, in the laughter and conversations with our family. Home is where life begins and ends, a place for both body and soul. When one experiences all life offers and returns to normality, they realize that happiness is indeed simple. Having a warm home, loved ones around, sharing meals, experiencing the seasons, and enjoying the unchanged, everyday simplicity. Life is fleeting, and through this story, I hope you can appreciate the happiness you have and help others realize and cherish the fleeting happiness that time may soon take away. 37. Faulty light bulb. A lighting store always looks brightly lit, and someone asked, "What kind of bulbs do you use here? They last so long." The store owner replied, "Oh, the bulbs do fail. It's just that we replace them immediately when they do." Moral of the story: what you see with your own eyes might not always be the whole truth. Reality can be quite different from what you think. 38. Heaven favors the virtuous. The Tao Te Ching says, "The way of heaven is impartial. It always sides with the good people." This means that heaven does not favor anyone in particular, but bestows blessings upon those who are virtuous. The way of heaven is impartial because it encompasses everything and is present everywhere, treating all things in the world equally. The way of heaven always sides with the good people because virtuous individuals create blessings for others and themselves and naturally receive heaven's favor. Heaven treats us all equally. Thus, whether one can be virtuous depends entirely on oneself. How you act will determine your fate. The quality of your inner character will decide how broad or narrow your vision is. 39. The unlikely prom queen. In a class where the female students openly voted for their prom queen, Chu Mai, a girl with average looks, stood up and said, "If you choose me in a few years, you can proudly tell your husbands that back in college, you were even prettier than the prom queen." As a result, she was elected almost unanimously. Lesson learned: to gain others' support, you don't necessarily have to prove you're better than everyone else. Instead, show them how they can feel superior and more accomplished because of you. 40. Keep good intentions. Do not let money drive you to unfair dealings. Do not hurt others for personal gain. Avoid using schemes to harm people, and do not seek ways to torment others. Be simple and non-calculative. Be kind and not cruel. Be honest and not deceitful. Respect your parents. Be genuine with your friends. Cherish your partner and be enthusiastic with your colleagues. Treat everyone around you kindly. Care for those nearby, and always leave room for yourself and others to have a way forward. When giving to others, do so with love. When rewarding others, do so with compassion. Just keep a cheerful spirit and blessings will always be near. Maintaining good intentions and speaking kindly can help you form positive connections with others. 41. Education and money. A father and son were walking past the entrance of a 5-star hotel when they suddenly saw a famous brand car driving in. The son said to his father with a dismissive tone, "People who drive this kind of car probably don't have any education." The father replied gently, "People who say things like that probably don't have any money in their pockets." Lesson learned: does your perspective on people and situations truly reflect your thoughts? 42. Lost and Found, a tale of integrity and divine blessings. Those who do good, fortune may not have arrived, but misfortune has already left. Chuang Tzu said, "Those who still harbor good intentions, even if blessings haven't come, have distanced themselves from disaster." We all seek good fortune throughout our lives. Some pray to gods or idols, hoping for divine assistance. However, true blessings are not given by others or found in a specific place, but are earned through personal cultivation. In the Book of Worldly Wisdom, there is a story about a couple from ancient times in the eastern part of the city of Wuxi. The couple, Lu and his wife, had an only son named Shi, who was kidnapped by traffickers at the age of 3 or 4 during a lantern festival. Despite searching everywhere in the city, they couldn't find him and had to borrow money from a wealthy family to continue their search. Their journey was filled with high mountains and deep waters, and money was scarce. Lou had to sell goods along the road to make ends meet. One day, while on the road, he found a blue cloth bag containing 200 silver coins. Despite his poverty, Lou knew it was wrong to keep unearned money and waited for the owner. Eventually, the owner got his money back. The grateful owner invited Lou to his home for a feast of fine wine and food, and even offered him a monetary reward as thanks. Lou, however, refused to accept it. The owner, admiring Lou's character, asked if he had a son, hoping to arrange a marriage with his daughter. Moved by the conversation, Lou shared his painful story of losing his son and the efforts to find him. The owner, empathizing with Lou, decided to give him a young servant to adopt and support. Miraculously, this young servant turned out to be She. The story ends happily, with She and the owner's daughter getting married and their children also becoming successful. This shows that a kind heart not only blesses oneself, but also brings prosperity to the family and even benefits future generations. This is the essence. Good people receive blessings, and sincere people often find luck. With a heart full of goodness, one is surely protected by divine powers, and with sincerity, blessings naturally follow.
If you like this video, please comment 1, and if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
43. Breaking a dish. After dinner, the mother and daughter washed the dishes while the father and son watched TV in the living room. Suddenly, there was a loud crash of breaking dishes from the kitchen, followed by a long silence. The son looked at his father and said, "It must have been Mom who broke the dish." The father asked, "Oh? How do you know?" The son replied, "Because Mom didn't start yelling at anyone." The lesson here is that we are used to judging others by different standards than we use for ourselves, and we often are strict with others and lenient with ourselves. 44. Your appearance reflects your experience. Some say, if God blesses you with a beautiful face, you must be careful, for it is a test of your character. If your character is mediocre, it will show on your face, turning beauty into vulgarity. Many may have read about Miss Kwak Uyendon, a young lady born into a prestigious family who went through insecure times, worrying about daily meals, and was even sent to work in the fields during her youth. Despite hardships, she maintained her grace and elegance. In her old age, Kwak Uyendon remained a refined and graceful woman. Author Tran Dan Yen recalls meeting her when she was 86 years old. Her hair was white like snow, she wore a sky-blue fur coat, and she was still very beautiful. It felt like 3 men were entering a restaurant with a beautiful young woman, not 3 women with an elderly lady. This kind of demeanor comes from enduring hardships, being tolerant of life's challenges, and years of cultivating a calm and elegant spirit, shaping a lifelong persona. True beauty isn't just superficial attractiveness, it's about daily refinement. Even in a crowd, this quality can be discerned at a glance, as it truly reflects the soul. The British writer Russell once said, "A person's face is their outward worth. It not only reveals their life, but also the life they strive for." A person's appearance is not only related to their present, but also determines their future. However, believe that appearance can be transformed. Therefore, be a person of simple goodness, filled with optimism, love, and gratitude. Cultivate a rich soul and a positive attitude, and you will become increasingly beautiful. 45. Nagging. The wife was cooking in the kitchen, and the husband kept standing by, nagging non-stop. "Slow down! Be careful! The flame is too high! Hurry up! Flip the fish! Oh, that's too much oil!" The wife said, "I know how to cook." The husband replied, "Of course you do, honey." He calmly added, "I just wanted you to know how it feels when you constantly nag me while I'm driving." Lesson learned. Understanding others isn't hard. It just takes seriously considering their perspective and stance to see the issue from their point of view. 46. True happiness. One of the most unfortunate things in life is that people often live in happiness without realizing it. Instead, they keep searching for it elsewhere, exhausting their spirits. It's only when they lose what they had that they recognize how happy they once were. A few days ago, I chatted with a friend who talked about her mother. Her family is quite wealthy, living in a 100 square meter house, but her mother was never content. She always envied other people's mansions, constantly feeling sad and complaining to her family. She believed life had to be like others to be considered luxurious. To fulfill this, her son invested all he had into a business to buy a mansion for her. Unfortunately, the business failed, leading them to financial trouble and forcing them to sell their house to pay debts. Now, her mother lives in a tiny 10 square meter house in an alley. Truly, they were living in happiness but didn't realize it, showing how dangerous desires can be. I also remember the story of the goldfish that wanted to repay the old fisherman who saved it by granting all his wishes. When the fisherman's wife wanted a new wooden tub, she got it. When she wanted a bigger house, she got that too. But it still wasn't enough. She then wanted to become a lady of nobility, and after achieving that, she desired to be a queen. Yet, it still wasn't enough. Eventually, the goldfish stopped caring about her, and their lives returned to how they were initially. This story illustrates that human desires are never-ending. One day, I read online, "Life is inherently happy, only humans are never satisfied." If carrying burdens is suffering, doing nothing is happiness. If walking is suffering, riding a donkey is happiness. If being cold and hungry is suffering, then being warm and full is happiness. This is indeed true. Only those who know contentment find happiness. Although many agree with this, how many can truly live this way in reality? Another story, The Poor Man and the Angel, goes like this. A poor man lived in a very small house with 4 generations under one roof, constantly struggling. He begged an angel to help him escape this misery. The angel appeared and told him to bring chickens and ducks inside his home to live together for a week. After a week of enduring this, the man again begged the angel for help. The angel appeared and told him to let the animals go back to their coop and to return after another week. A week later, the man knelt before the angel, grateful for his blessings, feeling very happy. In life, many of us are like the poor man, always complaining that life is unfair, thinking others have it better. In fact, happiness is often right beside us, but we fail to notice it. Like in the story, the angel didn't give the poor man anything new. Instead, he made him realize not to focus on what he lacks, but to appreciate what he has. Sometimes, it's not that life is unfair, but that our desires are too great. We live in happiness without realizing it. When things don't go as planned, we recall our previous lives and realize that was enough for happiness. We shouldn't keep searching for happiness while already living in it. Walk your path. Enjoy your own life. Time is never meaningless. It helps us realize the value of what we've lost and appreciate our current lives more. 47. Pig. One day, Mr. A was driving on a small road enjoying the beautiful scenery, when suddenly the driver of an oncoming delivery truck rolled down his window and yelled, "Pig!" The more Mr. A thought about it, the angrier he got. He decided to roll down his window and shout back, "You're the pig!" Just after he shouted, he ran into a group of pigs crossing the road. The lesson here is, don't misunderstand the good intentions of others. It only leads to greater losses for you and embarrassment for them. Before jumping to conclusions, learn to control your emotions, be patient, and observe carefully to avoid unfortunate incidents. 48. The Old Man, the Fisherman, and the Golden Fish. When the old man returned home, he was shocked to see that the castles and palaces had all vanished. All that was left was his old shabby hut and his wife sitting beside a cracked pig trough. This is the ending of the fairy tale, The Old Man, the Fisherman, and the Golden Fish, a story many of us have read at least once during our childhood. The story teaches us that those with insatiable greed who always want more will end up with nothing in the end, returning to square one. However, this story also hides deeper life lessons that become apparent upon reflection. The story starts when a poor old fisherman accidentally catches a golden fish. Moved by the fish's pleas for release, he sets it free. This fish, a magical creature, promises to grant the old man whatever he wishes for. Initially, the old man says he wants nothing, but his wife, upon learning about the fish, demands a new pig trough to replace their old, cracked one. The golden fish fulfills this wish. However, the wife isn't satisfied and demands a bigger house in place of their run-down hut, which the fish grants as well. Then, she wants to be a high-ranking lady and eventually a queen, all of which the fish grants. As a queen, she treats the old man harshly and cruelly, yet he doesn't protest. Still unsatisfied, she demands to become a sea goddess, ruler of the vast ocean, and wants the golden fish to serve her. This time, when the old man makes the request, the fish disappears without a word. Returning home, the old man finds that everything, including the new pig trough, has vanished, and his wife is no longer a queen but just a simple woman again. The story illustrates that gods cannot fulfill human desires endlessly. Many ask, if gods truly exist, why don't they make our country wealthy and our people happy and well-fed? The tale answers that human greed knows no bounds. What defines wealth and progress? Like the fisherman's wife, who initially only wanted a new pig trough, once people have a little, they desire more. Satisfied desires only breed greater greed endlessly. This prompts us to think, can gods continually satisfy such unreasonable demands? In religion, the concept of karma teaches that happiness and wealth come from doing good deeds, not from making demands of the divine. Gods are meant to guide us to abandon greed, cultivate morality, and strive for goodness, not to indulge our every whim. Is the old man truly innocent? In the story, the old man represents simplicity and honesty, in direct contrast to his greedy and deceitful wife. He releases the golden fish out of compassion, yet this brings him no reward. Instead, his life becomes more burdensome, and ultimately, everything reverts to how it was initially. This seems unfair to him. The last time, when the fish disappears without a word, it might appear ungrateful, not acknowledging the old man's kindness. However, this outcome is due to the old man's errors. Although inherently good, he inadvertently promotes evil by indulging his wife's desires. We must realize clearly that the old man's attitude towards his wife is not one of patience or tolerance, but of weakness and cowardice. He accepts her unreasonable, greedy demands without resistance, even when they are clearly wrong. The story suggests that the world suffers not because of the wicked, but due to the silence of the good. The old man, by his silence, allows his wife's evil to flourish, causing harm to many, and ultimately making him complicit. This story tells us that if we remain silent and fearful in the face of evil, even if we do not directly commit evil acts, we cannot claim innocence. Furthermore, if our silence allows evil to grow and harm others, we are accomplices. One day we may face the consequences for our silence and inaction before evil. 49. Being a dad. A young boy asked his father, "Dad, is it true that dads always know more than their sons?" "Of course," his father replied. The boy then asked, "Who invented the light bulb?" "Thomas Edison," said the father. The boy questioned further, "Then why didn't Thomas Edison's dad invent the light bulb?" Lesson learned. Those who boast about their age and experience often face difficulties. Authority is just an empty shell that cannot withstand real challenges, especially in today's open age.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
50. Why are you angry? Once, a woman's daughter and son-in-law had an argument, with the son-in-law behaving aggressively and uncontrolled. Most people would have defended their own child, but this grandmother approached the issue objectively. She consoled her daughter while also guiding her son-in-law, kindly pointing out the daughter's faults. Eventually, her daughter recognized her own issues and made peace with her husband, preventing an unnecessary divorce. When her son was cheated out of money while working far from home and found no one to help, the grandmother advised him to endure the loss as an act of kindness, even giving him some money to start over. Her husband was often hot-tempered and harsh, but she didn't take it to heart and always told people that he was a good man at heart despite his harsh words. Some might think such tolerance is foolish. However, from another perspective, everyone faces troubles in life, and anger and conflict only add to our suffering without changing anything. Those who are generous and don't dwell on gains or losses can skillfully avoid conflicts and turn misfortune into good. An old proverb says, "A great general can navigate the ship with a good heart." Without great patience and a broad mind, one cannot be a great leader or accomplish great things. People who are grateful and those who are resentful lead very different lives. When interacting with others, the grateful person praises their virtues, while the resentful person focuses on their faults. When receiving a favor, the grateful person is moved to tears, while the resentful person feels it's not enough. When accepting an apology, the grateful person forgives generously, whereas the resentful person remains angry. When helped, the grateful person appreciates and remembers the kindness, but the resentful one only complains about the lack of thoroughness. When given advice, the grateful person thanks the well-intentioned, while the resentful doubt their motives. Everyone lives in different circumstances, but in reality, everyone lives within their own inner world. When both are exposed to teachings of compassion and universal salvation, the grateful person appreciates each challenge as an opportunity to improve, while the resentful person continues to blame and create heavier karma, leading to deeper downfall. The grateful person holds true integrity, like quality material that can be molded into any shape. The resentful harbor deceit and rebellion, and even as semi-finished products, they are mostly defective and of poor quality. 51. Charm. An Englishman and a French woman were sitting together in a train compartment. The French woman wanted to charm the Englishman. After she undressed and lay down, she started saying that she was cold. The man gave her his blanket, but she kept saying she was cold. "What can I do to help you?" the Englishman asked. "When I was young, my mother used to warm me with her body," the woman replied. "Ma'am, I can't help with that. I can't exactly jump off the train to find your mother, can I?" Moral of the story: a man who is good at reading others is a good man. A man who is not good at reading others is even better. 52. Forgetting the good deeds you've done for others. There's a wise old saying, "Give without expecting anything in return, and if you expect something in return, don't give at all." However, in life, Some people feel entitled to gratitude after helping others. They obsess over being acknowledged and repaid. In front of these people, they may act arrogantly and disrespectfully. This might be tolerable once or twice, but repeated behavior like this can become bothersome for those who have received their help. Consequently, these helpers may feel even more discontent, believing they are unappreciated and have wasted their kindness, leading to disappointment, frustration, and even resentment. This mindset can turn a good deed into a burden, making it hard for them to be happy and relaxed. Remember, everyone needs help sometimes, so try to focus more on the help you receive from others and less on the help you provide. This can make your life much lighter and more enjoyable. 53. The spoon. A customer walked into a restaurant and ordered a bowl of soup. The waiter served it to him immediately. As soon as the waiter left, the man said, "Excuse me, I can't eat this soup." The waiter promptly brought him another bowl, but the man repeated, "Excuse me, I can't eat this soup." The waiter then called the manager. The manager approached respectfully, saying, "Hello, sir. This soup is one of our restaurant's specialties and is beloved by many of our guests. Could it be that—" What I mean is, where's the spoon? Lesson learned. It's good to correct mistakes, but often we end up fixing things that aren't broken and keeping the real mistakes, which only makes things worse. 54. Letting go of grudges. In life, we meet many people and experience a lot of situations. Among these, there are often people who make us incredibly angry, to the point where we grind our teeth in frustration. There might be numerous incidents that leave us feeling tied down, even affecting our ability to eat or sleep well. When someone harbors grudges, they essentially imprison their heart in a cage. Their gaze is always fixed on the person they resent, and they may end up acting irrationally towards them, gradually losing their true selves. Holding on to resentment is like a painful scar that hurts every time it's remembered. The more we cling to it, the harder it is to heal. Therefore, in our lives, don't hesitate to be a little forgetful, especially about past resentments and anger towards others. Letting go is the best form of liberation. When we finally manage to let go of these burdens, we may find that the warm sunlight we've missed for so long finally breaks through the darkness, shining brightly on us. 55. The telegram. A Scotsman traveling to London wanted to visit an old friend, but he forgot the friend's address. So he sent a telegram to his father. "Do you know XX's address? Please reply quickly." That day he received an urgent telegram back. Yes. Lesson learned. Sometimes when we finally get the right answer, we realize it's the most useless one. 56. Living freely. Jealousy is a narrow-minded, uncomfortable feeling of annoyance when seeing others do better than us. It is a source of sadness that makes our lives miserable. It's common for people who are new to spiritual teachings to experience jealousy and competition. Life is very short. We live today without knowing if we will die tomorrow, so instead of holding grudges, let's try to live meaningfully. During Buddha's time in the Shravasti region, he told his disciples that nothing leads to ruin faster than jealousy and envy. Therefore, he advised them to practice patience and kindness in actions, speech, and thoughts. This, he said, is what they should learn. After hearing Buddha's teachings, his disciples happily agreed and practiced accordingly. Patience means enduring internal conflicts and external adversities because they provide nourishment, motivation, and lessons that help us grow quickly. Those who practice kindness and patience sleep peacefully and are loved by everyone. Their hearts gradually clear of hatred. However, when faced with adversity or harsh words from others, we should reflect on the inherent goodness of those individuals. They might speak harshly, but their intentions are not necessarily bad. Instead of feeling upset, we should practice being patient, accepting, and appreciative, and admire others' success. This helps calm our minds. Using the goodness in others as a model can inspire us to strive without resentment. Jealousy only tarnishes our hearts, making them petty, and can lead us to behave badly, sometimes without even realizing it. Life is too short. Living each day without knowing if we'll die tomorrow, we should avoid holding grudges and aim to live meaningfully. Remember the virtues of those better than us rather than dwelling on their faults. Remembering others' good qualities always fills us with gratitude. Who knows? We might become the happiest person in the world. So, why not keep the goodness of others in our minds and learn to forgive? The more we forgive, the lighter and happier we feel. When dissatisfied, think of those who are less fortunate. Compared to those suffering or deceased, we are fortunate to be alive and healthy. Always appreciate what we have. When you're unhappy, ask yourself if it's worth being bitter or resentful over trivial issues. Instead, when your partner seems happier with others, rather than being upset, try enjoying a drink to quench your thirst, cook a delicious meal, or treat yourself to a new hairstyle. Do what you love and enjoy life. Eat well, sleep well, and spend wisely. No matter the era or society, living well will always bring both praise and criticism. Right and wrong, good and bad are perspectives that vary based on different viewpoints, backgrounds, and understandings. Like a flower that blooms and spreads its fragrance without restraint, we should support each other in life without envy. If you find something or someone worthwhile, cherish and maintain it. Managing the world's opinions is not easy, so instead of constantly correcting others, focus on improving yourself. As the saying goes, problems often start from the mouth, and dwelling too much on comparisons not only harms your spirit, but also hurts others. As followers of the Buddha, wisely maintaining a gentle demeanor in body, speech, and mind helps us stay calm and self-reliant in any situation. 57. Don't dwell on past glories. Some people say that dwelling on a glorious past is the biggest obstacle to the future. Everyone has a past, and everyone has had their moments of pride and success, but after all, that's in the past. Yet, many don't understand this and continue to define their present lives by what happened before. They see that others, who might not have been as successful as them in the past, are now doing better, and instead of trying to catch up, they feel it's unfair. Why should someone who was once poor now be doing so well? When others move forward, these individuals cling to the past and think they are smart, but their lives become increasingly stagnant because they don't adapt. Those who are stuck in their past glories may feel like they are truly talented, but just haven't had the right opportunities. They believe life is deliberately making things difficult for them, leading to resentment and dissatisfaction with everything around them. Yesterday can't stay, and the same goes for past glories. If we don't focus on past successes, we won't stop moving forward, won't harbor dissatisfaction with life, and can make progress towards a better future. 58. Mouse in a rice barrel. One day, a mouse fell into a barrel of rice that was half full. The mouse was overjoyed by this unexpected find. After making sure it was safe, the mouse started a cycle of eating and sleeping inside the rice barrel. Soon, the rice in the barrel was almost gone, but the mouse couldn't resist the temptation of the remaining grains and stayed in the barrel. Eventually, when all the rice was eaten, the mouse realized it could no longer jump out because it had become too weak. Lesson learned. Our lives might seem peaceful, but dangers are everywhere. It's important to maintain a stable lifestyle and always be aware of potential risks. 59. Try to be forgetful. Look around at the people in our lives and you'll notice that those with great memories often lead less comfortable lives. They carry too many people and events in their hearts, unwilling to let go, thus trapping themselves and always struggling with distress. Life is really too short to spend so much time in suffering and waste. Why not be a little more forgetful? Don't let past people and events tie you down. Life needs to move forward, leave others behind, let go of the past, and even let go of yourself.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
60. Slow as a turtle. At the museum, a wife said to her husband with an impatient tone, "I keep wondering why you're moving as slow as a turtle, and now I see it's because you keep stopping to look at all these things." Lesson learned. Some people just rush through life's path and end up missing the chance to see the beautiful flowers along the way. 61. Going with the flow. Embracing ease and humility for success. To make things flow smoothly, consider water, which doesn't have a fixed shape and flows according to the path of least resistance. Ancient wisdom says that even mountains cannot stop water, and water can wear away stone. Hence, the ancients believed that adopting a gentle and accommodating demeanor, similar to the flow of water, would lead to success and fulfillment. This concept is encapsulated in the idea of avoiding competition. Avoiding competition is different from a lack of ambition. By limiting competition, one shows respect for natural laws and avoids disrupting the balance of the universe. This means not sweating the small stuff or losing oneself amidst life's constant changes. In taking action, one shouldn't rush. As the saying goes, haste does not bring success. Before starting anything, it's wise to carefully consider, plan, and then cautiously execute step by step, much like water slowly flowing without urgency. Moreover, just as small streams can grow into large rivers over time, those who wish to excel must learn humility and cultivate an attitude of avoiding competition to truly advance. 62. The Candy Philosopher. Every day you give a child some candy. You do this often and with joy, and the child seems to really love you for it. Every day, when they see you, they smile brightly and run over to get their candy. But then one day, you pat their head and say, "No more candy." Suddenly, you see a different side of them. They yell out that you are stingy and mean. They might even go around speaking badly of you. This story teaches us that when you give someone something so regularly that it becomes expected, they no longer see it as a gift, but as your duty. And when you stop giving what they want, they might turn against you. For many people, even if you've given them candy every day, they'll only remember the one day you didn't. 63. Happiness or suffering is a choice. It's up to you. Life is yours to live, and ultimately, you decide how you live it. No one can prevent you from being comfortable, nor can anyone restrict your freedom or limit your happiness. There's a Buddhist saying that goes, "Seek not from the outside or outside the mind there are no laws. Therefore, joy, freedom, and happiness all originate from within." In life, there may be times when we find ourselves in situations where we have to do things we don't want to, but who can limit what's inside your heart? Only you can decide that. Some people may be happy in certain circumstances while others are not. This shows that if the mind is at peace, everything else will be too. Even in difficult situations, one can still be cheerful and relaxed without having to look for another path. Some people never feel satisfied. They keep chasing desires, struggling here and there, and ultimately, their goals become more distant. Such people might achieve great success, but they often find little joy. All emotions, whether joy or sorrow, are decided by you. They don't depend on external situations. For example, a woman who doesn't care for jewels won't be moved, even if treasures pile up before her. A poor scholar would rather have thousands of books than trade them for 1,000,000 diamonds. Someone content with a simple life in the countryside won't envy things like scholarly recognition or high status. The more serene your life, the more clear your inner self becomes. There's no need to show off. True peace is about being calm inside. Happiness is about being at peace physically and mentally. Good health and a serene mind are true happiness in this world, while inner peace and harmony represent ultimate bliss. 64. Needle search. One late afternoon in a narrow alley, an elderly, frail-looking woman was seen searching for something. "I'm looking for a needle," she said. Everyone present started to help her look for it. After searching for a while without success, people gradually lost patience and asked her, "The alley is long and the needle is very tiny. Where exactly did you drop it?" "Inside my house," the old woman replied. Hearing this, someone snapped in frustration. "Are you confused? If you dropped the needle inside, why are you looking for it out here?" Calmly, the old lady answered, "Because it's sunny out here, but it's dark inside my house." This story teaches us that often, for convenience, we search for values outside while they are truly found within. Why do we search for happiness outside ourselves? Is it because we have lost it there? 65. Big and small. Do you understand yourself? A friend once told me about a visit to his aunt who had never worn a pair of shoes that fit properly. She always chose ones that were too big. When people asked her why, she'd reply, "Big or small, shoes cost the same, so why not get the bigger ones?" Every time I share this story, it gets a lot of laughs. Yet in life, we often come across many such aunts. For instance, some who are not writers produce voluminous, bitter works. Others who aren't artists repeatedly create massive, extraordinary paintings. Many people constantly seek grandeur, driven by greed, much like buying oversized shoes, forgetting their own size. Regardless of what you buy or pursue, fitting well is most important, and knowing your limits is the smartest approach. 66. The key. A large lock was hanging on a door. No matter how much force was used, it couldn't be opened. However, when a small, ordinary key was inserted and gently turned, the lock immediately opened. Many people wonder, why can't we open the lock with all our strength, but this little key can open it so easily? The key replied, "Because I understand what's inside it the best." This story teaches us that the heart of each person, just like that lock on the door, cannot be accessed by just any means. Only with care, transforming ourselves into a delicate and precise key, can we enter someone else's heart and truly understand them. 67. The quiet search. Listening to find what's lost. One day, a father accidentally misplaced his wristwatch. He searched everywhere in frustration, but couldn't find it no matter how hard he tried. When he stepped outside, his child quietly went into the room and, in just a short time, found the watch. The father asked, "How did you manage to find it?" The child replied, "I just sat quietly, and after a while I could hear a faint ticking sound, and that's how I found it." Moral of the story. The more desperately we search for something, the harder it can be to find. Only by calming down can we hear the sounds deep within our hearts. 68. The value of a stone. A student once asked his teacher, "What is the value of life?" The teacher handed him a stone and instructed, "Take this stone to the market. Don't sell it. Just see how much people offer for it." Following his teacher's instructions, the student took the stone to the market. Everyone wondered why he would sell such an ugly stone. After sitting all day, a sympathetic street vendor offered 1 coin for it. The student returned and reported, "This ugly stone was barely noticed. Luckily, Someone offered 1 coin for it, teacher." The teacher smiled and said, "Good. Tomorrow take the stone to a jewelry shop and ask the shopkeeper the price. But even if they want to buy it, don't sell it." The student was surprised when the jeweler offered 500 coins for the stone. Excitedly, he asked his teacher why this happened. The teacher smiled and said, "Tomorrow, take it to an antique shop. Don't sell it, just ask how much it's worth." Following his teacher's advice, the student was shocked when the antique dealer valued the stone as worth his entire fortune. He refused to sell it and hurried back to tell his teacher. The teacher then explained slowly, "The stone is actually a priceless ancient gem worth a whole fortune, and the value of life is similar to this stone. Some understand it while others don't. To those who don't understand or appreciate it, life's value might seem worthless, but to those who do, it could mean everything. The stone remains the same, and so does life. The only difference is your understanding and how you view life." Lesson: everyone has a different way of valuing success or happiness. Respect each person's choices and make your life valuable in your own way. Only you can decide what your life is worth. 69. Do not do unto others what you do not want done to yourself. In the text, The Analects, Wailing Gong, there's a story where Tzu Kung asks, "Is there one word that one can follow throughout one's life?" Confucius replies, "Perhaps it is forgiveness. Do not do unto others what you do not want done to yourself." To become a gentle person, you only need to do 2 things. First, calmly forgive. In the face of others' mistakes and shortcomings, we should always be tolerant and calm, strict with ourselves, patient with others, not be unreasonable, be cautious in all actions, and forgiving others as if forgiving oneself. Second is empathetic thinking. Do not do unto others what you do not want done to yourself. Before you do something, first think from the other person's perspective, seek a balance in mutual interests, and use the most appropriate method to achieve a mutually beneficial situation, making everyone feel comfortable. By doing so, you can avoid putting yourself in difficult situations and smooth out most relationships. In any situation you will not fear, maintaining a warm and elegant demeanor. Such people often get promoted and receive salary raises quickly and stably. Beyond the workplace, at home, and in life, they always handle conflicts correctly and skillfully, making others feel like a breath of fresh spring air. 70. Story of the 2 wheat grains. Once, there were 2 wheat grains set aside as seeds for the next planting season because both were healthy, large, and robust. One day, the farmer planned to sow them in a nearby field. The first grain thought to itself, "Why should I go with the farmer to the field? I don't want my whole body to disintegrate in the soil. It's better to keep all the nutrients inside this husk and find an ideal place to hide." So, it rolled into a hidden corner of the grain storehouse. Meanwhile, the second grain eagerly awaited the day the farmer would plant it in the ground. It was thrilled about starting a new life. As time passed, the first grain dried up in the corner of the house because it didn't get any water or sunlight. Its nutrients were useless. It slowly perished. However, the second grain, though shattered in the soil, sprouted into a bright golden wheat plant heavy with grains, and brought new wheat grains into the world. Lesson: never confine yourself within a tough shell just to maintain a pointless sense of completeness. Instead, bravely go forth, silently endure disintegration, and contribute to the vast field of life with a small wheat plant. That was the choice of the second grain. In the expansive field of life, I hope each of us will make our own choices. 71. The story of the donkey carrying sacred relics. This is a fable by a French writer named La Fontaine, and it's one of his signature works. The story is about a donkey that was first ordered by a priest to carry sacred relics. On seeing the worshippers bowing down and praying, the donkey felt a sense of pride and contentment. The next day, the priest asked it to pull a millstone, but the donkey, still basking in the glory of the previous day, refused to obey and was beaten by its owner, causing it to cry loudly. A 10-year-old child who heard this story remarked, "Don't forget you are just a donkey." Indeed, in this world, many donkeys mistake themselves for sacred relics. When they have power, they become arrogant and proud. When they lose it, they become discouraged and anxious. When in position, they are haughty and self-aggrandizing. When out of power, they fall into despair. The donkey is just a donkey, and the sacred relics remain sacred relics. Even children understand this basic truth, so why do adults still get deluded? In fact, carrying the sacred relics is like opium addiction, which can be habit-forming. No matter how long the donkey carried the relics, there will come a day when they must be taken down. Just like people in the world, everyone wants to live gloriously. People come from all directions to worship, providing not only spiritual joy but also all necessities like food, clothing, shelter and transportation, and even a lot of money. However, this is no different from a donkey carrying sacred relics, mistaking these luxuries for itself, eventually getting used to them and then living in fear of loss, which makes life miserable. In reality, only a person's own body, preferences, skills, personality, and thoughts truly exist with their life. The days carrying the sacred relics are just fleeting moments in the memory of a worldly life.
Hey everyone, your comments truly matter, offering insights and motivation to others and uplifting our creative team at Lighthouse of Wisdom channel. Sharing your thoughts and experiences enriches our community. So, let's get the conversation started below and help illuminate our path with your wisdom.